So a fresh new week has arrived, and here on this channel, that means one thing and one thing only. Every week I post an episode of this series we do called Your Take Not Mine, where I turn to you the viewers to give me your hottest NBA takes of the week based on what's going on at the time, and I then choose my favorite submissions and discuss them in a video. This week, we're getting a lot of new developments in the final off-season storylines that are remaining, so we definitely have plenty to discuss. In order to submit your takes, I make a community post on either the day of or the day before the video, similar to the one that you see on your screen now, so if you want a chance to be featured in a future episode, be sure to stay on the lookout for that. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but it also very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Kemba, and he says that Ace Bailey will be the one that ends up winning the Rookie of the Year this season because he'll be the one that plays the most minutes of all the rookies, and he will lead all rookies in scoring. The idea of Ace Bailey as a prospect 1 year ago pretty much fits the description that Kemba here just gave to a T. The problem is that a lot has changed over the last year. Ace Bailey was hyped up as the biggest challenger to Cooper Flagg at the top of the 2025 NBA draft class when the college season was beginning, but quickly he began to be overshadowed by his own teammate at Rutgers, Dylan Harper, and as the draft continued to approach, he consistently made questionable decision after questionable decision, leading to him slipping further down, ending up being the 5th pick by the Utah Jazz. The truth is that Bailey just wasn't quite the dynamic 3-level scoring dominant talent that he was hyped up to be, and while he is still a naturally gifted scorer of the ball as a 6'7" wing, he definitely has more flaws that need to be ironed out before he can start to consistently contribute at a high level on an NBA court. For one, he has a relatively weak handle and struggles mightily to beat defenders off the dribble or create much separation to get good clean shots off. Then to add on to that, he still insists on taking tough shots on a regular basis that are tightly contested, and while he has shown he can make tough shots, they're still inefficient looks in the grand scheme of things. Now, I think I've made it clear over the last few months that I'm not someone that is very high on Ace Bailey as a prospect, but for the sake of devil's advocate, I'll approach this take from the perspective of someone who would be. Even if those flaws in his game right now weren't there, I just completely disagree with the logic that Kemba used in his take to get to this conclusion. Yes, Lauri Markkanen struggled with injuries last year, but Markkanen is back at full strength now, and he has looked completely dominant in the Eurobasket tournament this summer, which included a 43-point game in that tournament. Lauri is still the team's best player, he's still their #1 option, and he will continue to take the most shots on the team. He also happens to play the same position as Ace Bailey, which immediately hurts the logic of Bailey playing the most minutes and getting the most shots up on the team. On top of that, there are just way too many young players in need of development on this Jazz team for Bailey to come in and immediately get anointed as their go-to option, and in the Summer League, Bailey wasn't even their primary focus on the offense against a much lower level of competition. Long term, it's fine to still believe that Ace Bailey can develop into a high-level go-to scoring threat. I just don't see that happening from day one as a rookie. The next take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Let's Talk, and he says that the Miami Heat actually have a legit chance to contend at the top of the Eastern Conference this year as a consistent playoff riser, with plenty of scoring, defense, and playmaking. While yes, it is true that the Miami Heat have overachieved more than maybe any other team since 2020, there was a pretty big reason for that being the case that the original poster here conveniently overlooked. They happened to have an outstanding leader those years who pulled off some Herculean playoff elevation by the name of Jimmy Butler. Maybe you've heard of him. All jokes aside though, I really can't get on board with this idea because not only is this not the same team that established that reputation, but a lot of what he said in the original take is just not true. For example, the claim that the Heat have, quote, plenty of scoring is not one based in reality. In the entire Jimmy Butler era of Heat basketball, the team has rarely ever had a top-ranked offense. Last season, in the time that Butler was still on the team, they ranked as the 18th best offense, and after Jimmy Butler got traded away, they fell down to being the 21st ranked offense in the league, which was the second worst rank amongst all of the teams that made the playoffs. This isn't a one-off occurrence either, as the Heat also ranked 21st on the offensive end last season. They ranked 25th on offense in 2023, and 18th on offense in 2021. In 2022, when they were the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, they did rank 12th on the offensive end, but even that's not a great mark for a championship contender. Now, without Jimmy Butler on the team, it seems ill-informed and a bit naive to insinuate that the team has the offensive firepower to take a leap. They did pretty much replace Jimmy's scoring with Norman Powell, who is coming off of the best year of his career, where he averaged a highly efficient 22 points per game. But if you're expecting Powell to replace Butler's overall output and guide this team to title contention, you're going to end up disappointed. Yes, Tyler Hero has developed nicely as a creator, and Andrew Wiggins still has something left in the tank, but this is not a group with nearly enough creativity, playmaking, or shooting to keep up with the top teams, unless you're predicting a reemergence of Terry Rozier and a breakout season from Jaime Jaquez, which I am not going to do. Also, Bam Adebayo is a great defender, but he has clearly capped himself out in terms of what he can provide on offense, so I'm not anticipating a jump there either. Their outlook is once again as a team that will likely fall into the play-in tournament range of the standings, and fall in the first round when matched up with one of those real contenders like the Knicks or the Cavaliers. And finally, the last take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Eddie, and he says that the Warriors are closer to a rebuild than they are to contending for a championship. I'll be honest, this has definitely been a bleak summer for the Warriors faithful who thought it was going to be a period where they build on all of the momentum that they generated down the stretch of last season. To this point, they have, without exaggeration, done absolutely nothing, as they allowed Kevon Looney to leave in free agency. They have made 0 trades or free agency signings, and with training camp right around the corner, they're running out of time. With that being said though, it is pretty much understood that Al Horford will be signing with the team to address their need at center once the Jonathan Kuminga situation plays out, and Gary Payton Jr. will likely be following suit in that regard. But the fact that the Jonathan Kuminga situation is playing out how it has is a reason enough to worry. Based on all of the reporting done about the situation, the Warriors seem to simultaneously be both done with Kuminga as a part of their future, while also not wanting him to go somewhere else out of fear that he could blossom and make them look foolish. Kuminga isn't to be blameless in this situation either though, because it also seems like he's trying to demand star player money without ever having proven to be a star, but he's also got every right to feel slighted by the team that has never given him a consistent chance to flourish. Kuminga has been on one of the tightest leashes in the NBA throughout his career, some nights playing big minutes, putting up some big scoring nights, other games being benched completely, and all the while never having the leeway to play through mistakes that other young players around the league have had. Young players need the freedom to mess up and learn from their mistakes without immediately being yanked and punished for it, and Steve Kerr has just not given Kuminga that cushion. With all of that being said though, if Jonathan Kuminga does end up re-signing with the team for the year, then I think this team will still be able to work things out, and I would not write them out of the race in the West by any means. After the trade deadline last season with Jimmy Butler, this was a team that went 22-8 down the stretch, which was the 3rd best record in the NBA in that time, with the league's #1 ranked defense in that stretch as well. Jimmy Butler is antsy to return to contention. Al Horford may be up there in age, but he's proven he can still be an impactful interior defender and floor spacer. Steph Curry now has a sidekick to alleviate his duties, and Draymond Green was in the defensive Player of the Year race still holding things down on that end for them last year. Kuminga will have his issues with Coach Steve Kerr and the organization, but he'll also be auditioning for his next contract, so you would be mistaken to think that he would come out lackadaisical. Brandon Pajemski is starting to emerge as a rock-solid secondary creator, Moses Moody is looking like the reliable 3-and-D wing he was drafted to be, and when the games start, all the off-season nonsense will be behind them, so while I'm not here to pick them to win the Western Conference, I also would not be writing them off like the original take did. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about the takes discussed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.